So, guys, we have just learned that the budget speech has been postponed to March. And the reason for that is because some of the GNU partners, especially the Democratic Alliance, could not agree with the proposed plan by the ANC. So the ANC, the brilliant ANC, came up with a magnificent idea of raising the VAT rate by 2%, basically taking it from 15% to 17%, making things even harder for poor South Africans. The ANC understands that the majority of the people that are living in this country are poor, and instead of just looking at the government expenditure to say that, guys, we are spending so much money as the government, maybe it's time we trim out some of the useless things that we spend the money on as the government. No, they say we must tax these poor people, these people that are now complaining about the 15% that we have, that they cannot even afford the basic needs. We must tax these people. So this is the plan of the ANC, and the DA said, no, we are not going to allow that. We are not going to allow that. So let's look at this article. This article, it says that the anticipated 2025 budget speech has been postponed to March. Speaker Tokodidiza has announced that parties failed to reach an agreement over the proposed 2% VAT increase. I mean, it is absolutely insane that these people even thought about increasing the VAT rate by 2%. Absolutely insane. Tokodidiza said the executives needed time to relook the proposal before deciding whether it can be approved and delivered to the people. And guys, if you think about it, if the ANC was not in the government of national unity, if the ANC was governing alone, they would have actually increased this VAT rate by 2%. This is why it is so dangerous to actually allow the ANC to do anything by themselves, because if the ANC was governing alone, you can bet that this 2% VAT rate, they would have actually implemented it, and there's nothing that any of these political parties would have actually done. If anything, we as average South Africans, we would have been squeezed by the ANC simply because these people cannot even manage the money. This is the first time in 30 years of democracy that the budget speech has been postponed. According to Tokodidiza, the government leaders informed her that government of national unity parties in the executive were not able to agree to the budget. The parties in the GNU, including the Democratic Alliance, supported the postponement, while opposition parties such as the EFF MK party rejected the move. They called for the minister to account for the delay. This raised concern after Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana delayed delivering his speech. It was supposed to be presented at 2 p.m. on Thursday. So this whole thing is basically delayed. It is basically delayed. So we are going to look at here. We are going to look here. According to Tokodidiza, the government leaders informed her that the government of national unity in the executive were not able to agree to the budget. So there is a letter that is actually doing the rounds on social media. So this is the letter. So I suppose this is a letter that was written to the Speaker of Parliament. It says that revenue and tax proposals. Madam Speaker, since October, several new and persistent spending pressures in health, education, transport, and insecurity have emerged. After careful thought, the government has decided it is necessary to support these pressures in order to properly fulfill our service delivery mandate. In assessing our options, we were confronted with three choices: to either continue to cut funding to essential services that our people depend on, take on expensive debt that would be a burden for future generations, or to make a strategic tax adjustment to secure our nation's future. After careful analysis of the trade-offs, we have chosen the most responsible path forward. We propose to raise the VAT rate by 2% points to 17%, a necessary step that will enable us to 1. Expand early childhood development opportunities for our children, retain the teachers, doctors, and essential frontline workers that serves our communities, revitalize our commuter rail system to better serve working class families to provide above inflation increase to social grants for most of the vulnerable. Madam Speaker, this decision was not made lightly. We thoroughly examined the alternatives to raising the VAT rate and the policy trade-offs involved, including increases to corporate and personal income taxes. I want you guys to listen to the last line. This is what they are saying to the last line. However, these would generate substantially less revenue while potentially harming the economic growth and job creation. The same people that are saying that we want to increase the VAT rate by 2% are saying that this would generate substantially less revenue while potentially harming the economic growth and job creation. So I went to ChatGPT and I said, Chat, just please tell me, man, the implications of this VAT rate that the ANC basically is trying to do. So, and this is what it said. It said if the ANC had succeeded in implementing a 2% VAT increase from 15% to 17%, the implications would have been significant across sectors of the economy. Here's the breakdown of key effects. So we are looking at number one. Number one, it says that increased cost of living. A VAT hike would have raised the prices on most goods and services, directly impacting consumers, especially the low-income households who spend large proportions of their incomes on the essentials. I mean, like, and this is something that the ANC, they know themselves. They know that if we raise this VAT, it is going to harm the people that are finding it even harder to buy the essential goods. So if you know that increasing the VAT rate by 2% from 15% to 17%, if you know for a fact that this move is going to harm majority of the people that are living in this country, why are you even thinking about it? Why are you even thinking about it? It says that even though basic foods items, maize meal, brown bread, milk are zero rated, the general rise in prices would have still indirectly affected the cost of living through transport, electricity, and other expenses. Even though the basic food items like maize meal, brown bread, and sugar are zero rated, the general rise in price would have still indirectly affected the cost of living through transport, electricity, and other expenses. But the ANC doesn't give a damn about poor people. I mean, this is one thing that it is a proof that the ANC does not give a damn about poor people. So number two, it says that inflationary pressure. On the inflationary pressure, number one, it says that a higher VAT raise overall inflation as businesses pass on higher tax cost to consumers. A higher VAT raise increases overall inflation as businesses pass on higher tax cost to consumers. This would have led to increased demand for wage hikes, which could cause further economic strain. This would have led to increased demand for wage hikes, which could have caused the further economic strain. I mean, of course, when things are going up, the people will say that no, it is not fair that the basic goods are going up. It is not fair that things are getting expensive and we are still getting the same salary. So if things get expensive, the people will actually demand more salaries. This is basically what it's saying. So number three, it says that the economic growth impact. So on the economic growth impact, number one, it says that reduced consumer spending. With higher prices, people tend to buy less, affecting business revenues, especially the small and medium enterprises. Reduced consumer spending. With higher prices, people tend to buy less, affecting business revenues, especially the small and medium enterprises. Lower sales could lead to job losses. Lower sales could lead to job losses as companies might cut costs to maintain the profits. So number four, it says that government revenue boost. Number one, the VAT increase was likely aimed at closing budget deficits and funding social programs such as education, healthcare, and infrastructure. Number two, it says that, however, if consumer spending dropped too much, the expected revenue boost could have been lower than anticipated. Number five, it says that business and investor confidence. Now, this one is very important. Businesses are already struggling with load shedding in this country. High interest rates and slow economic growth would have faced more pressure. It would have caused more pressure for the businesses. And number two, it says that the investors might have seen this as a negative move, discouraging foreign investment due to lower disposal income and weaker growth prospects. I mean, like all of these things, the ANC, they know about all of these things. Last but not least, the political backlash. It says that a VAT hike would have been highly unpopular amongst the public. Of course, it would have been unpopular amongst the public. No one actually wants to buy things expensive. Things are already expensive in this country, so we cannot afford things to be even more expensive, leading to protests and political pressure. Number two, opposition parties and civil society groups would have used it as a campaign issue, possibly affecting the ANC's election prospects. Everything. So the conclusion is that while the government would have gained short-term revenue from a higher VAT rate, the long-term effect on the consumers, inflation, business, and economic growth could have been outweighed the benefits. This is why such tax hikes are usually controversial and require careful balancing with social protection measures. So these are the implications of what the ANC basically wanted to do by increasing the 2% VAT increase, taking it from 15% to 17%. Madness. Total madness.
Honorable members, for now, since there are no mics that are connected, which unfortunately had not been brought to our attention, we will try and utilize the roving mic when necessary. I have just had a consultation with all the whips of parties following a consultation with the leader of the government business. In terms of Rule 48, subsection 2, we have decided to adjourn proceedings for a date to be determined by the programming committee. This is in accordance with Rule 10. Honorable members, before we started the session, we were informed by the leader of government business, as it is the process in terms of the communications between ourselves and the executive, that while today we've been gathered here to actually have the Minister of Finance presenting the budget to this august House, that there has not been agreement in terms of parties in the executive to actually find one another in proposals of the budget. And the executive therefore decided, as some of you already know, and as your whips have said in our discussion, some things that have already been on the media about where there are possible increases and where different parties, as well as members of the communities' perspective on those proposed increases were saying. And Cabinet therefore decided not to come and do a presentation of the budget and allow themselves enough time to relook at the budget and come back to this House in March at the time at which they will inform us. So, no, honorable members, I will point you, I have noted your hands. Well, in our consultations, which I must report to you, the different whips shared with us their perspectives on the matter. There were those who agreed and asked that we ask the executive to give us a definite time in March so that we are able to deal with the pressures of time for the legislature. Secondly, there were those who were saying they are not accepting the postponement. But obviously, we did indicate that while we note their refusal on the postponement of the sitting, it would not be of any use to postpone when there is no presentation that will be made. There were others who already declared their rejection on what they say it's an alleged increase of 2% on the taxes, so they said they wanted to state it upfront that they are not agreeing. So I'm just giving you a perspective of the consultations that we've had.
So that is the ANC for you. And guys, I don't want to lie, it still boggles my mind that these people are not even willing to look at their expenditure as the government. They are not even willing to downgrade anything. They still want to have their things. They still want their pegs in parliament. The ministers, they still want their blue lights. The deputy president of the country. I remember yesterday I read a tweet from Rob Hessoff. It says that he was chilling and having a lunch, and Paul Mashatile pulled up with like 12 cars and with security personnel consisting of like 20 people. And this is the deputy president of the country. Just imagine 12 luxurious cars with 20 personnel, and these are your security guards. Things like that, they don't even want to touch things like that. This is their life. This is not what they actually want to do. But they want to tax us. They want us as average people to continue suffering while they are having the best life. So right now on social media, people are clapping hands for the DA because it looks like the DA really fought a good fight and actually said to the ANC that we are not going to agree with that. And the ANC and the DA, finally, they've proved to have a bit of balls to stand against the ANC to say that, okay, you are not going to do that. We understand that you have been implementing all of these crazy policies, but you know, when it comes to the budget, you actually need our vote, and we are not going to give you the vote on this. So people are actually quite happy with the DA. Even the people that are quite anti-DA on social media, if you go on social media, you'll see that the people are happy with the fact that the DA stood in the way of the ANC, because if the ANC was governing the country alone, you can bet that this 2% VAT rate, it would have been implemented, and all of us would be stuffed in this country. All of us would be stuffed in this country. So the DA has actually released a statement not so long ago. It says that the DA defeats 2% VAT increase as budget is postponed. As budget is postponed. The postponement of the Minister of Finance 2025-2026 national budget speech today is a victory for the people of South Africa, as it prevents the implementation of a 2% VAT increase that would have broken the back of our economy. And the DA says that, the DA says that the postponement resulted from the DA's resolute opposition to the ANC's plan to hike VAT at a time when millions of South Africans are already suffering under a cost of living crisis. The last minute postponement came about because of the failures by the ANC, and specifically Finance Minister Enoch Gondogwana's failures to engage meaningfully with the alternative proposals tabled by the DA. Following our defeat of the ANC's plan to hike the VAT, we will now fight with the same vigor to introduce a budget that is anchored in growing the economy rather than increasing the tax or the debt. This historic victory demonstrates the DA's muscle within the government of national unity. And I remember this is something that the DA would actually remind the ANC of, that, yeah, of course, you can go ahead and propose all of these crazy policies. We are going to get you on that budget. We are going to get you on that budget. So the DA says that this historic victory demonstrates the DA's muscle within the government of national unity. For the first time ever, the ANC was prevented from tabling an anti-growth budget. Now is the time to replace a failed ANC VAT budget with a brand new GNU growth budget. So this is a very strong statement coming from the Democratic Alliance. And I must say that, guys, we must give the credit where credit is due. The DA actually fought for us this time around. They actually fought for us this time around, because if it was not for them opposing this insane VAT increase proposal by the ANC, all of us would be stuffed right now. And I cannot even think about the poor South Africans, the poorer of the poorest, who cannot even afford the basic needs. I cannot even fathom what would have this 2% have actually done to them, because it is clear as day that the ANC does not give a damn about the people. They do not give a damn about the well-being of the people, because they know that the people would have lost their jobs. They know that there would have been protests, the people would have demanded higher wages, and the companies would have been forced to cut so that they can maintain the companies. They know that it would have been a mayhem, but they still went ahead and proposed it. They still went ahead and proposed it. And if you look at this letter that was allegedly sent to the Speaker of the Parliament, the last line, it says that this would have generated substantially less revenue while potentially harming the economic growth and job creation. So the ANC knows very well that by increasing the VAT rate, this thing actually has the potential to harm the economic growth and job creation. But they still went ahead with it anyway. Because after all, these people are multimillionaires. They are not like you. They are not like me. They are not like average South Africans. These are multimillionaires who still continue to earn fat salaries, who still continue to get the perks that average South Africans could not even think about. That's why it was so easy for them to say that let's increase the VAT rate by 2%. This move is insane by the ANC, and it actually proves that the ANC does not have the plans on how to actually grow the economy. Guys, please tell me what you think. Go to the comment section. Don't forget to hit that like button, and the most important part, subscribe. My name is Thomas Mabaso. I will see you next time. Bye bye. Guys, I almost forgot my name, man. My name is Thomas Mabaso. I will see you next time. Bye bye.